14. Gold bars and treason. Democratic Senator Bob Menendez and his wife, Nadine Arslanian Menendez, faced indictment by a federal grand jury in New Jersey on corruption charges in June of 2022. The investigation centered around alleged improper dealings with 3 businessmen, while Hannah, Jose Uribe, and Fred Dibas. The indictment claimed that these businessmen provided the couple with various bribes, including cash, payments toward a home mortgage, gold bars, compensation for a no-show job, and a luxury vehicle. Menendez and his wife initially faced 3 criminal counts each: conspiracy to commit bribery, conspiracy to commit extortion under the color of official right, and conspiracy to commit honest services fraud. Additionally, Menendez was charged with providing sensitive U.S. government information to secretly aid Egypt. The investigation revealed that a June 2022 raid on the couple's New Jersey home uncovered over $480,000 in cash, hidden in envelopes, closets, clothing, and a safe. Notably, there were also 2 gold bars weighing 2 pounds or 1 kilogram each, and 11 one-ounce gold bars. The charges outlined Menendez's alleged use of his influence to benefit the businessmen and the government of Egypt. Menendez denied any wrongdoing, attributing the charges to a campaign against him. His wife, Nadine, also refuted the criminal conduct allegations, vowing to contest the charges in court. The indictment detailed Menendez's attempts to disrupt a federal criminal prosecution of Fred Dibas in exchange for financial benefits. Dibas, an old friend of Menendez, allegedly had ties to the Genovese mob family. Menendez was also accused of influencing President Joe Biden's nomination of a U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey to favor Dibas. In addition, the indictment implicated Menendez in improper dealings related to businessman Wael Hannah. It suggested that Menendez used his Senate Foreign Relations Committee position to influence the State Department's policy on Egypt. Hannah, who operated a company specializing in certifying halal food products for export to Egypt, allegedly promised money to Nadine through a no-show job. The investigation also delved into the couple's financial activities, including the sale of gold bars valued between $200,000 and $400,000, as well as the acquisition of a luxury vehicle financed by businessman Jose Uribe. Menendez had faced a corruption charge previously in 2015, but the case ended in a mistrial, and as a result, he was acquitted on some charges. Despite the new indictment, Menendez continued his re-election bid for the New Jersey Senate seat, facing at least one Democratic challenger in the primary. If he were to step down before the end of his term, January 3, 2025, the Democratic governor of New Jersey, Philip Murphy, would appoint a successor. In October 2023, Menendez appeared in federal court in Lower Manhattan after an additional charge of conspiring to act as an agent of the Egyptian government was added to his indictment. He and his wife have both pleaded not guilty, but the case is ongoing. 13. Bad cop, dad cop. You can disapprove of your child's boyfriend or girlfriend, but you can't go as far as to get them arrested for nothing. But that's exactly what one officer tried to do in Ohio in 2018. The troubling incident occurred in the city of Lorain and led to the firing of police officer John Kovac Jr. in June of 2018. The event that culminated in his termination occurred on April 18th of that year, when Kovac pulled over his daughter's boyfriend, Mackay Coleman, without any apparent cause. And in the back seat of Coleman's car was Kovac's own daughter, Caitlin. During the traffic stop, in a video captured by Kovac's dashcam, he informs Coleman that he's going to jail and says that he's not above making up charges. Coleman complies with the man's requests, taking a seat in the back of Kovac's police cruiser. Kovac then speaks with local resident Gloria Morales, who comes out of her nearby home because her children are also in Coleman's car. Kovac, a veteran officer with the department since 1992, informs Morales that he wants to search her house for his daughter's computer. Initially agreeing, Morales changes her stance when Kovac threatens to issue a $300 ticket to her daughter for not wearing a seatbelt. She then insists on a warrant before she'd allow him to search her residence. Shortly thereafter, it becomes apparent that Kovac didn't notice that his daughter was also in Coleman's car. Likely embarrassed by his behavior in front of his child, he releases Coleman and forcibly places Caitlin in the police car instead. Caitlin protests and cries, denying any reason for arrest. Kovac then claims that she was threatening self-harm the previous Friday, a statement that was refuted by both Caitlin and Coleman. Internal investigations later revealed that Kovac believed his daughter was a danger to herself due to an alert from his ex-wife, who claimed that Caitlin and Coleman were engaged in sexual conduct. According to Kovac, Caitlin said, "If I can't be with him, I don't want to be here anymore," during a phone conversation referencing Caitlin and Coleman's relationship, leading him to fear for his daughter's well-being. It's clear from the video that Kovac did not approve of his daughter's boyfriend, which likely led to the disagreements and tensions in his household. The ex-wife also alleged that Coleman threatened her when she asked him to leave her home, but more details on this incident are not available. To make matters even worse, during the situation that occurred on April 18th, Kovac ignored a dispatch call about a road rage accident and used police resources to track his daughter's computer through her IP address. On May 11th, Kovac was officially and immediately terminated from the Lorain Police Department. He tried to appeal the decision with support from the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge No. 3 in both October 2018 and June of 2019. But in the end, Judge Christopher Rothgary ruled against him. The termination was based on violations deemed as gross misconduct and a serious abuse of police authority. 12. Drugs on duty. In October 2023, Grace Rose Baez, a 37-year-old female NYPD officer, found herself at the center of a drug-dealing scandal, leading to her arrest, along with 42-year-old Cesar Martinez from Yonkers. The two faced charges of conspiracy to distribute narcotics and distribution of narcotics, as announced by U.S. Attorney Damian Williams of the Southern District of New York. Baez, a police officer since 2012, was accused of dealing large quantities of narcotics, including fentanyl and heroin, while on duty. The alleged drug dealings occurred between October 9th and October 29th. Baez, stationed at an NYPD facility, supposedly arranged multiple meetings with a federal informant to negotiate the sale of kilogram quantities of narcotics. During these encounters, Baez reportedly provided the informant with a sample of what she claimed to be top-quality fentanyl in a Mentos candy container. Subsequently, she offered to sell a kilogram, or 2.2 pounds, of heroin for $25,000 and 800 grams of fentanyl, with pricing to be determined later based on the drug's purity. Baez was arrested after meeting the informant in Yonkers on Thursday, where she handed over packages containing suspected narcotics, including 400 grams of heroin and 640 grams of fentanyl, labeled as 640 Manzana. A search of Baez and Martinez's Yonkers home uncovered additional evidence, including a kilogram press machine and narcotics that Martinez allegedly attempted to discard. Notably, Baez had previously faced misconduct accusations in 2020, leading the NYPD to place her on modified duty. In 2022, she earned $96,715, and following her arrest, she was suspended without pay. Baez's arrest drew attention to her earlier Instagram post from 2020, where she expressed her love for her career as a police officer, stating, "I will never apologize for picking a career I love to do." U.S. Attorney Williams condemned Baez, stating that she flagrantly violated her oath of office by involving herself in drug distribution contributing to the nation's opioid crisis. Police Commissioner Edward Caban expressed deep concern, emphasizing that such charges tarnish the reputation of the NYPD, and stating that there's no place for corruption within the department. Both Baez and Martinez face the possibility of lengthy prison sentences, but the cases are ongoing. 11. Hostile environment. In Maryland, it was revealed in July of 2023 that a professor at the Tacoma Silver Spring campus of Montgomery College created a hostile environment and violated Title IX by instructing female students to remove their shirts during class. According to the U.S. Department of Education investigation, the professor claimed that it was for a medical assessment, requiring female students to wear only sports bras. Some students, attempting to maintain modesty, put on lab coats, but the professor instructed them to remove those as well. The instructor then made inappropriate comments about the students' breasts, as reported in a letter from the Office of Civil Rights to the college. Title IX is a federal civil rights law that was enacted in 1972. It prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in educational programs and activities. The law applies to all educational institutions that receive federal funding, encompassing a wide range of entities from K-12 schools to colleges and universities. Title IX is designed to ensure gender equity in educational opportunities, preventing discrimination in areas such as admissions, athletics, and employment. In the context of the recent incident at Montgomery College in Maryland, Title IX played a crucial role in addressing and rectifying the hostile environment created by the professor's actions, underscoring the law's commitment to fostering a safe and non-discriminatory educational environment for all students. Following complaints from students, the college placed the professor on paid administrative leave and initiated a formal investigation into the allegations of sexual harassment. The Title IX coordinator conducted interviews with students from the professor's class, students from another section of the same class, the department chair, and other witnesses. And in the end, the investigation confirmed that the professor's conduct created a hostile environment based on sex, leading to his termination. The college took steps to support affected students, providing counseling, academic assistance, and tuition reimbursement. One student who failed the class due to harassment received support to re-enroll, with the college covering the costs. While the Office of Civil Rights, OCR, found that the college's investigation aligned with the Title IX requirements and was prompt and equitable, it noted a failure to adequately inform the affected women that the investigation had concluded and the professor had been fired. In response, the OCR mandated a resolution agreement with Montgomery College, requiring them to inform all students in the class about the investigation's findings and the termination of the professor. Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights, Catherine E. Lawman, expressed gratitude to Montgomery College for their swift response and thorough investigation. She described the incident as shameful and appreciated the college's commitment to fulfilling its remaining obligations under Title IX to end the discriminatory effects on all students. 10. Meth in a scrunchie. In September 2023, a former teacher in Evansville, Indiana, Sarah Duncan, found herself facing legal troubles when she was arrested and charged with possession of methamphetamine. The incident unfolded during a family fun night at Helfrich Park STEM Academy on September 12th. According to Evansville police, 2 juvenile volunteers discovered a bluish velvet scrunchie with a white zipper on a table while cleaning up after the event. Inside the scrunchie, they reportedly found a glass vial containing a white powder substance that they suspected to be drugs. The scrunchie and its contents were later identified as methamphetamine through a field test at the Evansville Police Department. Further complications arose when, on September 14th, Duncan underwent a drug urine screen at a hospital. During the process, it was noted that Duncan provided 2 urine samples that were insufficient for testing. In a third attempt, an unauthorized container fell from Duncan's shorts, leading to the termination of the test. documented as a failed attempt to alter the results. As a result of these events, Duncan, who was identified as a teacher at the school, was terminated from her position of employment. Duncan's interaction with authorities revealed conflicting statements. While she admitted to removing her bluish velvet scrunchie for a photo at the family fun night, she denied leaving it on the table. Duncan acknowledged owning a scrunchie with a zipper pouch, but insisted that it wasn't the same one from the event. She claimed to have approached a janitor at the school looking for a scrunchie that she believed her daughter had lost, but Duncan was seen wearing a similar scrunchie in the photograph from the event. When questioned about the failed drug tests, Duncan professed ignorance about why her urine didn't meet testing requirements and denied awareness of the container in her shorts. She claimed not to know how or when the pouch ended up in her pants. Duncan was subsequently arrested and charged with possession of methamphetamine and paraphernalia, leading to her booking into the Vanderburgh County Confinement Center on September 20th, 2023. Despite attempts to reach out for comment, the Evansville Vanderburgh School Corporation failed to provide a response to the situation. 9. Intoxicated and ready to operate. A Kentucky plastic surgeon named Dr. Theodore Gerstel faced legal repercussions in January 2018 when he was arrested for allegedly attempting to perform surgery while intoxicated. The incident took place at Baptist Health Lexington, where Gerstel, associated with Lexington Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery, was scheduled for a noon operation. But concerns arose when hospital staff received alerts about the surgeon being inebriated, prompting a swift response. Hospital spokesperson Ruth Ann Childers revealed that Gerstel, the only Harvard-trained, board-certified plastic surgeon in Lexington, left the hospital voluntarily on foot after being confronted by the chief medical officer. Subsequently, the hospital staff contacted the police, leading to Gerstel's arrest in close proximity to the medical facility. Luckily, at the time of the incident, the surgeon hadn't started the scheduled procedure. Dr. Gerstel faced charges of public intoxication and was held at the Fayette County Jail, as per records cited by the Lexington Herald-Leader. Although he wasn't a hospital employee, his staff privileges at Baptist Health Lexington were suspended pending a thorough investigation into the incident. The specific nature of the scheduled surgery remains undisclosed, but Gerstel's practice, according to its website, highlights his specialization in migraine headaches and various plastic surgery treatments. Despite the legal issues in 2018, as of the latest information, his medical license remains active until 2024, suggesting the troubling possibility that he continued practicing medicine after the incident. 8. Pastor sells shrooms. In 2023, a North Carolina pastor, 50-year-old Joshua Price, and his 28-year-old son, Matthew Price, found themselves facing felony drug charges following their arrest for allegedly running an illicit drug operation from the Southside Baptist Church in Lexington. The Davidson County Sheriff's Office reported that deputies seized significant quantities of illegal substances from the church. They found approximately 12 pounds, 5.4 kilograms of marijuana, nearly 32 grams of psilocybin mushrooms, 41 THC vape pens, 20 marijuana plants, and about 2 pounds or 1 kilogram of tetrahydrocannabinol wax, or THC wax. The investigation unfolded after authorities received reports of someone in the fellowship hall behind the church involved in manufacturing marijuana. Subsequent inquiries led to the arrest of the pastor and his son, with charges ranging from manufacturing and trafficking marijuana to possession with intent to sell and deliver THC wax. They also received felony charges of maintaining a dwelling, possession with intent to sell and deliver marijuana, and conspiracy to traffic marijuana. The pastor claimed to deputies that the church had been closed since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, former members disputed this statement, asserting that the pastor had closed the church even before the pandemic. Despite attempts to reach the elder Price, identified as the pastor on the church's Facebook page, he couldn't be immediately reached for comment. Former church member Mike Lambeth revealed that he'd raised concerns about Pastor Price when he first arrived at the church 3 years prior. Lambeth warned fellow members about the pastor, stating that their first meeting didn't align spiritually. And he expressed skepticism about Price's suitability as a pastor. The pastor and his son were scheduled for a court hearing on July 25, 2023, to address the charges brought against them. But for now, no further updates have been released regarding the story. 7. Police chief labeled Village Idiot. In July of 2023, Sag Harbor Village Police Chief Austin J. McGuire faced a 30-day suspension without pay for charges of insubordination, misconduct, and incompetence, as outlined in town documents. The allegations primarily stemmed from a July 1st incident during the Southampton Village 4th of July parade, where McGuire was purportedly observed intoxicated. The Sag Harbor Village Board initiated the suspension on December 1st, investigating a series of incidents spanning from December 1st, 2020 to July 2nd, 2023, accusing the chief of public intoxication both on and off duty. McGuire, earning an annual salary of $209,000 and assuming the role of police chief in January 2016, faced 32 disciplinary charges filed by Village Mayor Thomas Gardella. The charges ranged from creating low morale and exposing subordinates to harassment to creating a hostile work environment. The town filing asserted that McGuire's conduct brought shame to the Sag Harbor Village Police Department. The chief was further accused of attending to personal affairs while on duty, contributing to the charges of insubordination, unbecoming conduct, disrespect, and unprofessionalism. Mayor Gardella emphasized the severity of the charges and the difficulty of the process in the small village with close interpersonal relationships. Witnesses reportedly attested to McGuire's inappropriate behavior. And if convicted following an upcoming hearing, the chief faces the possibility of termination. Mayor Gardella acknowledged the need for due process, estimating that the entire investigation would last between 3 to 6 months. McGuire, who previously served 18 years with the East Hampton Town Police Department, rising to the rank of lieutenant, failed to respond to messages asking him to comment on the matter. The scandal cast a shadow on Sag Harbor Village, which is known for being the home of notable figures like designer Calvin Klein, actress Gwyneth Paltrow, and former Mets first baseman Keith Hernandez. 6. Professor takes bribes for grades. Between 2013 and 2020, former Baltimore City Community College professor, 45-year-old Edward Ennels, faced legal repercussions for engaging in a complex criminal scheme involving bribery and academic access codes. Ennels, who taught math for 15 years, pleaded guilty to the charges of bribery and misconduct in office. He exploited his position to coerce students into paying for academic access codes and offered favorable grades in exchange for bribes. Ennels created alter egos, including Bertie Benson and Amanda Wilbert, to orchestrate his schemes. In March 2020, posing as Benson, he offered to complete a student's math assignment for $300, guaranteeing an A in the class, and forwarded the proposition to 112 students while posting as Wilbert. Directly engaging with students, he established a price list for grades, ranging from $150 for a C to $500 for an A in higher-level courses. Despite resistance from some students, Ennels persisted, suggesting lower amounts and payment plans until students eventually succumbed. In addition to bribery, Ennels executed another scheme starting in August 2013, leveraging his official position to promote vendors selling academic access codes required by students. Surprisingly, though, each vendor was Ennels himself, using various alter egos and fraudulent representations. Over Over the years, he sold at least 694 access codes for about $90 each, accumulating tens of thousands of dollars. The codes were obtained through direct contact with publishers and misrepresentations of student financial hardships. The criminal activities came to light when a student, targeted for a bribe, reported NLs to Baltimore City Community College officials. The college initiated a criminal investigation, revealing the extensive bribery scheme and the access code fraud. As a result, NLs was sentenced to 10 years behind bars, with 9 years suspended, followed by 5 years of supervised probation upon release. He was also ordered to pay restitution to the tune of $60,000. Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosch appreciated the college's cooperation in bringing the case to a successful conclusion, holding NLs accountable for his actions. 5. Forced labor. In Conway, South Carolina, the case of a former restaurant manager, Bobby Edwards, sheds light on the abuse suffered by Christopher Smith, a mentally disabled restaurant employee. Edwards faced a federal charge of forced labor, accusing him of subjecting Smith to extensive abuse. Janine Keynes, a longtime acquaintance of the Edwards family and a former employee at J&J Cafeteria, learned about the abuse from her daughter, who worked with Smith. Shocked by the revelation, Keynes noticed a scar on Smith's neck during a visit to the restaurant a few years prior. So, concerned for the young man's safety, she reported the abuse to the Department of Social Services. According to court documents, Smith endured forced labor at the restaurant for 23 years, with the last 4 years marked by 18-hour shifts and repeated beatings. Abdullah Mustafa, president of the Conway chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, emphasized the egregious nature of exploiting a mentally disabled individual for free labor. Keynes and Mustafa intervened, helping Smith secure another job and providing support. However, the victim's mental state required supervision, prompting efforts to find a service to assist him. Keynes and friends planned fundraising initiatives to alleviate the costs associated with Smith's care. In 2019, Edwards was sentenced to 10 years in prison and was ordered to pay nearly $300,000 in restitution to Smith after pleading guilty to 1 count of forced labor. U.S. District Court Judge R. Brian Harwell highlighted the severity of Edwards' actions, stressing the Justice Department's commitment to investigating and prosecuting human traffickers involved in forced labor. Assistant Attorney General Eric Draband expressed dismay that instances of forced labor persist. Even decades after the Emancipation Proclamation, U.S. Attorney Sherry A. Lydon accentuated the office's intolerance for forced or exploitative labor in South Carolina, praising the citizen and law enforcement collaboration that brought a stop to this cruelty. FBI Special Agent in Charge, Jody Norris, urged anyone with information on similar crimes to come forward, showcasing the FBI's commitment to combating human trafficking in all its forms. 4. Pill Mill Pharmacy. Between 2014 and 2018, Deanna Winfield Gates, a relief pharmacist at Health Fit Pharmacy in Houston, Texas, played a key role in an illicit opioid operation, leading to her recent conviction by a federal jury on September 13, 2023. The pharmacy, owned by Arthur Nathaniel Billings, was dubbed a pill mill pharmacy and engaged in the unlawful dispensing of over 100,000 opioid pills. Operating as a cash-only establishment, Health Fit Pharmacy demonstrated a gross lack of individualized care for the purported patients. Over the 4 years it was involved in the illegal business, the operation relied on fraudulent prescriptions, using stolen identities of local physicians, with crew leaders sending individuals posing as patients to buy pharmaceuticals for later resale on the black market. Deanna Winfield Gates filled large volumes of generic prescriptions during this period, featuring opioids such as hydrocodone, oxycodone, carisoprodol, alprazolam, and promethazine with codeine. Her conviction is for one count of conspiracy to unlawfully distribute and dispense controlled substances, carrying a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. Her sentencing was scheduled for January 11, 2024, but it's now past that date, and there's been no word of the punishment she received. The case against Health Fit Pharmacy was part of a broader crackdown in 2019, involving 41 individuals associated with various Houston pharmacies. This operation targeted clinic owners, managers, pharmacists, and doctors across more than 20 pharmacies involved in distributing approximately 23 million opioid pills. Winfield Gates was the last defendant in this case, and 3 others had previously pleaded guilty to the conspiracy. The conviction underscores the extensive network of illegal opioid distribution that plagued the Houston area during that period. 3. Teacher encourages racism and violence. In August 2023, an appalling incident in the Muzaffarnagar district of northern Uttar Pradesh, India, has stirred national outrage. A video surfaced showing a teacher instructing students to slap their 7-year-old Muslim classmate, who stood fearfully in front of his peers. The teacher called for the slapping as a punishment for the boy's alleged failure to remember his times tables, and she made derogatory comments about the Muslim student's mother's involvement in their education. The video sparked widespread backlash, leading to a police investigation. The teacher, whose actions were caught on camera, has yet to be formally charged, but authorities have ordered the closure of the Neha public school where the incident occurred. The boy's father reported that his son felt restless and scared after the traumatizing incident. The child has since been admitted to another school, and the community has rallied behind him. The event has fueled anger across India, where communal tensions have intensified, partly attributed to the Hindu nationalist policies of the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP. Prominent politician Rahul Gandhi accused the teacher of sowing discrimination among innocent children and criticized the BJP for religious intolerance. While the BJP hasn't directly responded to Gandhi's comments, the party maintains that it treats all citizens equally. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during a trip to the United States, asserted that there's no space for discrimination in India. The incident in Uttar Pradesh took place against the backdrop of heightened communal tensions, with hate crimes against minorities rising significantly between 2014 and 2018, according to a study by economist Deepankar Basu. Uttar Pradesh, with its diverse population, remains one of the most polarized states in India. Led by Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, who's known for his anti-Muslim rhetoric and Hindu-first policies. The incident has not only exposed the vulnerability of minority communities, but also reignited debates about discrimination, hate crimes, and the need for a more inclusive educational environment in the world's largest democracy. 2. Corruption in California. In a federal corruption investigation, authorities have charged 10 current or former police officers from the Antioch and Pittsburgh police departments, 2 cities in the San Francisco Bay Area. Ismail J. Ramsey, U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of California, announced the charges in 2023, revealing a range of allegations, including engaging in fraud to increase pay and violating residents' civil rights. The charges stemmed from a 2-year investigation, resulting in the arrest warrants served in California, Texas, and Hawaii. Robert Tripp, the special agent in charge of the FBI's San Francisco field office, emphasized that any breach of the public's trust is unacceptable. Initially announced as there being only 9 people involved, it was later confirmed that 10 officers were implicated. Among the accused are Morteza Amiri, Eric Allen Rombo, and Devin Christopher Wenger, Antioch police officers facing charges of conspiring to oppress, threaten, and intimidate residents of Antioch between February 2019 and March 2022. The charges include conspiracy against rights and multiple counts of deprivation of rights under the color of law. Amiri faces an additional count of destruction, alteration, or falsification of records in a federal investigation. The indictment shed light on racist text messages sent by the officers and instances where excessive force was used against suspects. The officers were accused of falsifying reports to justify their actions, stating, "Defendants authored police reports containing false and misleading statements to suggest that the force they used was necessary and justifiable." 6 officers, including Amiri, face charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and wire fraud for pretending to take college courses to boost their pay. These charges involved officers from both the Antioch and Pittsburgh departments. Additionally, 2 Antioch officers were charged with distributing anabolic steroids, while another officer faced charges related to obstructing the federal investigation. The arrests and charges revealed a troubling pattern of misconduct, betrayal of public trust, and abuses of power within these Northern California police departments. And now for number 1. But if you want to hear more bizarre and crazy stories, stay tuned after the video for some more content. 1. Mrack Cocaine. In 2017, the night manager at a McDonald's in Soundview, New York, Frank Guerrero, was arrested for allegedly selling drugs to an undercover police officer within the franchise. Guerrero was accused of making 8 drug sales to the undercover officer, with transactions increasing in quantity and totaling nearly $10,900 worth of cocaine. The largest transaction involved the sale of approximately 100 grams of cocaine and crack cocaine for $6,520. The arrest followed a 3-month undercover investigation known as Operation Off the Menu. Authorities revealed that Guerrero, who'd worked as a night shift manager at the 24-hour McDonald's for at least 8 years, allegedly used his position as a cover for conducting narcotics transactions. Despite the night shift typically limiting customers to the drive-thru window, Guerrero reportedly provided special treatment to his drug customers by unlocking the front door and inviting them inside. During 2 instances, Guerrero allegedly conducted drug sales over the restaurant counter, concealing cocaine within a cookie bag placed inside a larger McDonald's order. The search of Guerrero's home in the village of Pelham uncovered 200 grams of cocaine and approximately $5,300 in cash that was found in a dresser in a child's playroom. Lady Cabral Castillo, who was present in the residence with her 2-year-old, was also arrested on charges related to drug possession and unlawfully dealing with a child. Tony Rodriguez, the owner and operator of the McDonald's in question, issued a statement condemning Guerrero's actions, stating that they were unacceptable and wouldn't be tolerated by the organization. Rodriguez affirmed cooperation with the NYPD investigation and directed further inquiries to law enforcement. Unfortunately, though, the resolution of the case remains ambiguous, leaving uncertainty about whether Guerrero is currently incarcerated.
Number 8. Rodolfo Lopez Ibara. In late 2016, Mexican authorities arrested Rodolfo Lopez Ibara, a regional boss for the Beltran-Leyva cartel. Acting on a tip, they took him into custody at an airport in the city of Monterrey, where they seized $22,000 in cash, a .38 caliber handgun, and an armored SUV. Ibara, who went by the nicknames El Nito and Nito Amavisca, offered the Nuevo Leon State Police $500,000 to let him off the hook. When they rejected the bribe, he threatened to murder them. The arrest came right as Ibara was due to take over command of cartel operations in Nuevo Leon, after the previous boss was thrown in jail. And it wasn't El Nito's first brush with the law by a long shot. By then, he had already done time on some previous weapons charges. He had also been accused of trying to bribe the police and threatening to kill them when he was apprehended in a past case. While the outcome of Ibara's more recent charges is unclear, the Beltran-Leyva cartel was already struggling to exist when he was taken into custody. Officials have since declared the organization disbanded and extinct. Number 7. Monica Youngblood. Officers from the Albuquerque Police Department in New Mexico were running a DUWI checkpoint stop one night in March 2018, when state lawmaker Monica Youngblood rolled up. The cop who approached her car later wrote in a criminal complaint that the 41-year-old's eyes were bloodshot and that she smelled of alcohol. He also claimed to notice that her speech was slurred, and she explained that she was on her way home from a friend's house and insisted that she was sober. She argued that her eyes were red because she was upset about a fight with her boyfriend. Youngblood refused a breathalyzer and allegedly did poorly on 4 different field sobriety tests. In her tearful pleas to avoid an arrest, which were captured on body cam video, she told the police that she's a legislator who advocates for the police. An officer responded by saying, "That doesn't make it okay for you to drink and drive," and took her into custody. Youngblood's attorney argued that there was no evidence that she was drunk and that she performed well on the field sobriety tests. But the judge disagreed, describing the woman's behavior in the body cam footage as flippant, or characteristic of someone who's impaired. The lawmaker was convicted of aggravated DWI and lost her re-election bid later that year. In an ironic twist, her arrest came just months after she campaigned successfully to introduce Uber and Lyft services to the area as a way to prevent drunk driving. Youngblood maintained her innocence and said that she regretted not taking a breathalyzer. Number 6. Julie Hos Gordon. Julie Hos Gordon was a family court judge in Owensboro, Kentucky, when her son was charged with assaulting her. She allegedly tried to pull some strings with the judge overseeing his case in hopes of getting his bail reduced, and also used her influence to ensure that he received favorable treatment in jail. But that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the slew of complaints against Gordon that surfaced in 2021. In a 25-page ruling, the state's Judicial Court Commission wrote that the disgraced judge was known to hold court into the late night hours, sometimes requiring parents and families to appear after midnight. She also ordered her staff to drug test defendants when a local treatment center refused to do so. The employees were untrained in how to properly take urine samples and store the specimens in the same fridge where they kept their lunches. According to the panel that wrote the damning report and ousted Gordon from the bench, she continued to commit misconduct even after learning that a massive complaint had been filed against her. Included among the laundry list of accusations are claims that she violated ethics boundaries by appointing her son's defense attorney and enabling him to recover fees. Gordon's lawyers said that she was disappointed in the unanimous decision to take her off the bench and claimed that she was just acting as a mother when it came to her son's criminal case. They said that they were reviewing the opinion and carefully considering any potential next steps they might take. Number 5. Amanda Nunns. Former prosecutor Amanda Nunns was looking forward to what she hoped would be a new chapter in her career when she decided to run for city council in Chesapeake, Virginia in 2022. But all 6 of the prominent office holders who initially agreed to endorse her withdrew their support after shocking allegations of elder abuse came to light. The sudden downturn in Nunns' campaign came after her great-aunt sued her in civil court for nearly $900,000 in damages. In the lawsuit, Shirley Davis accused Nunns of isolating her and her late husband, Bobby Davis, by taking their cell phones, hearing aids, and eyeglasses away after convincing them to move in with her. Davis also claimed that her great-niece punished Bobby by forcing him to remain at the dinner table until his plate was clean, sometimes into the late hours. Nunns also allegedly made the couple, who were in their 80s, clean up her pet's waste. Davis accused her former caretaker of adding her name to the couple's bank accounts without their permission and signing their house over to herself as a gift. Nunns also supposedly sold Shirley and Bobby's vehicles, withdrew money from their accounts to the tune of 6 figures, and also used some of the alleged ill-gotten funds to buy herself a BMW. In a statement, her attorney Alison Zizzo said that Nunns has a lot of family members and friends supporting her innocence, and that she looked forward to the opportunity to present the real facts of the case in court. Number 4. Rebecca Fier. 74-year-old Navy veteran Stephen Stryker suffered from a chronic condition that required him to have a feeding tube. When he ended up in the hospital in 2019, his state-appointed guardian, Rebecca Fier, requested a Do Not Resuscitate (DNR) order for her client. Stryker vocally opposed the move. He said he wanted to live and was seemingly lucid enough to make the decision on his own. But the order was somehow procured against his wishes, and he choked to death just days later. It happened at a time when Florida's Office of Public and Professional Guardians was already under scrutiny for its handling of patient cases. The case caught the attention of multiple state agencies, who opened an investigation into Stryker's death. While executing a search warrant of Fier's office, detectives found several urns containing the cremated remains of 9 unidentified people whose ashes had never been given to the loved ones. Authorities charged Fier with aggravated abuse and neglect of an elderly person and accused her of signing Stryker's DNR without permission from his family or the court. The case is ongoing, and it's unclear how much prison time she could face if convicted. She continues to maintain her innocence as she awaits the verdict. The widely publicized tragedy helped shed light on the persistent issues throughout Florida with state-appointed guardians allegedly abusing their power. In 2020, new laws were introduced to better protect senior citizens. Under the new legislation, investigative teams have been appointed to focus specifically on cases of elder abuse, neglect, and suspicious deaths. Numerous other changes were implemented, including the ability for certain financial advisors to intervene if they suspect a client is being victimized. Number 3. Alex Big A Underwood. After being elected sheriff of Chester County, South Carolina in 2012, Alex Big A Underwood joined a growing list of lawmen throughout his state who seem to think that the rules don't apply to them. During his 7 years in office, he ordered his deputies to ticket, arrest, spy on, and harass his political opponents with no valid justification for doing so. He also flew first class to Las Vegas on taxpayers' dime and had one of his deputies cover up the spending so that the county treasurer wouldn't notice. Underwood also called deputies to his house for what he called work days. They spent as much as 40 hours per week renovating the sheriff's barn into a party space and performing various other home improvement tasks on the clock when they were supposed to be keeping the community safe. Taxpayers footed the bill for their labor, which came at no cost to Underwood. He also collected paychecks for work he didn't do and skimmed pay from employees who legitimately put in the time. The Charleston-based Post-Courier newspaper blew the whistle on some of Underwood's wrongdoings in 2019 as part of a bigger investigation into corrupt sheriffs across the state. He also fell under federal scrutiny. Underwood and 2 of his top-ranking deputies eventually had to answer to the allegations against them in court. The disgraced former sheriff was convicted of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, federal program theft, and unlawful arrest. He received a 46-month prison sentence, but remains in an apparent state of denial and has requested a new trial. Underwood's attorneys are accusing prosecutors of failing to produce evidence of his guilt. They're also trying to convince a judge to release their client from prison while he works on his appeal. Number 2. Roger Golovsky. A young woman's life was turned upside down in the late 90s when she received a phone call from a detective with the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department. He told her that he needed her to come in and speak with him because she was a possible witness to a crime. During the meeting, she was brutally violated, assaulted, and intimidated into silence. The victim's attacker allegedly threatened to kill her grandmother if she told anyone what had happened. Sadly, it was just the first of more than 10 encounters she would endure over a 3-year period. At one point, the victim was driven to a cemetery in order to get out of the car and dig her own grave. Charges were finally brought against the suspect more than 2 decades later in 2022, when federal authorities arrested retired detective Roger Golovsky in connection with the years-long campaign of terror. A lengthy grand jury investigation identified at least 7 other victims, several of whom endured years of suffering. Prosecutors have accused Golovsky of keeping tabs on his victims, framing people for crimes they didn't commit, and having dangerous ties to organized crime. The suspect allegedly targeted vulnerable women of color, including prostitutes. In the months leading up to Golovsky's arrest, the victim's ongoing anguish caught the attention of rapper Jay-Z and his social justice group Team Rock. They took out a full-page ad in the Washington Post to raise awareness about the case and campaigned relentlessly for long overdue justice. If convicted, Golovsky faces a possible life sentence. Number 1. Keith Vidler. By all appearances, Keith Vidler led a respectable and successful career as a sergeant with the Orange County Sheriff's Department in Florida. There's no doubt that he put his life on the line to keep the community safe throughout his decades of service, including when he pulled survivors to safety during the Pulse nightclub shooting in 2016. But the 30-year law enforcement veteran received a much different type of publicity in late 2021, when he was fired for allegedly abusing his power during a traffic stop. A spokesperson for the sheriff's office told the press that Vidler had a grudge against a man named Jeremy DeWitt he had spent 2 years investigating. An internal investigation found that Vidler had pulled DeWitt over on suspicion of carrying a firearm, which he's banned from doing because he's a convicted felon. The weapon turned out to be a pepper ball gun, according to the findings, which accused Vidler of taking DeWitt into custody, despite the perfectly legal weapon being in plain sight. The sergeant supervisors determined that he should have let DeWitt go, but instead took him to jail. It was also revealed that the years-long investigation into DeWitt, based on suspected racketeering crimes, had suddenly been terminated in 2019. There was no contact between the two men between then and DeWitt's arrest in 2021, suggesting that perhaps Vidler didn't have a grudge like his superiors accused him of. He also claimed that he had called his supervisor after the arrest and was commended for a job well done. Vidler reportedly didn't seem surprised to lose his job, since he had been vocal about some things going on within the department that he disagreed with, including the way the DeWitt investigation was handled. Suspecting that he was fired for bringing up some inconvenient truths, he filed a lawsuit against Orange County Sheriff John Mina under Florida's Whistleblower Act, which is designed to protect public employees who file workplace complaints. The suit alleges that the sheriff's department falsely accused Vidler of targeting DeWitt as a convenient way to get rid of him after he drew unwanted attention to the fact that the investigation into DeWitt's suspected crimes was dropped. Included among the accusations against Mina are claims that several members of the sheriff's office criminally interfered with the investigation by shutting it down. Vidler has received considerable support in his attempt to clear his name and to expose what he claims is a disturbing case of internal corruption. An ongoing crowdfunding campaign for his lawyer fees has raised nearly $11,000 so far.
Would it be worse to find out that a cop planted drugs in your car, or that your doctor was drunk when he was performing surgery on you? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.